What is it like dating as a high achieving woman? And what is it like living in a couple relationship as a high achieving woman? Welcome to this episode of How to Love Successfully with me, Dr. Mari Kovanen. And today we have a wonderful guest. I'm really excited about this conversation. So welcome, Krystalore, a lovely name. So welcome to this episode today. And let me tell you a little bit about Krystalore Crews and her amazing career. So Krystalore is a 21-year US Air Force veteran, former NFL cheerleader, 26-time marathon runner, fitness and resilience coach, motivational speaker, author, and leadership consultant. Her igniting energy paired with her story of resilience packed a punch. She empowers others to #cruise beyond limits by sharing her experience from the military, cancer, and wheelchair-bound struggles to her days as a competitive professional athlete, dancer, and entrepreneur. She's a motivational speaker, author, coach, business consultant, and retreat leader on a mission to empower every person on the planet to put themselves and their health first for just 34 minutes per day. Amazing. I mean, the list just goes on and on. So welcome, Krystalore, today. Really excited about this conversation with today.
Thank you. Me too. I'm excited. Let's dive in.
So tell me a little bit about, I guess if we start, we're really itching to know about your relationship and how did you meet your husband? And you, of course, were a very high flying woman, busy woman already by then. So how did that all come together, really?
Yeah, it's such a beautiful story. And I was actually reflecting with my husband yesterday about it. We both met at a time where we were both just done with dating. I actually was going to move to Tampa. I was full-time in the military, and so was he. So we met through volunteering actually at a nonprofit for veterans. And so that's obviously one thing that I think is really important is just doing what you love, and you never know what could be possible and what opportunities could arise. And so I actually put this event on, and it was a 5K run, and then I took everyone to brunch, and it was a veteran-centric event. And he ended up coming to my event, and it was the day after a blizzard. I almost canceled the event, and I just was like, welcome. He was new to the area, and he kind of shared a little bit of his story during the run, and he was going through a divorce, went through a divorce. He was in the military and he had a child. All three of my rules, those were like, no, I didn't want anything to do with that. Right. And so I was like, welcome to the area, welcome to the group. And we ended up exchanging cards because we were both recruiting for both. I'm in the Air Force, he's in the Army. And so we were like, just as colleagues, exchanging cards. And then we ended up texting, and a couple days later, he's like, well, it sounds like you're free on this date. Cause I shared like all the events that we were going that week. And I'm like, oh crap, this is a date. No, because I had a job interview the next day. So the only day I had free was a Tuesday because I had a job interview on Wednesday, and it was a telephone interview, a second interview that was going to land me in Tampa, Florida. And we were living in Buffalo, New York at the time. And I was like, I'm done. So, of course, I get in the car and we're about to pull into the restaurant. And I said, I'm sorry. You can turn around now. There's something I have to tell you. And he's like, you're married. I was like, no, I have a job interview tomorrow. I'm leaving. And so I understand if you don't want to, move forward with this date. And we tell the story, we joke about it now. Like, he's like, well, maybe I'll get to kiss her at the end of the day. And we're like, well, maybe I get a free steak at the end of the day. But so I ended up into this relationship, into this date, just no walls, open. And, he shared his story. I shared mine. I had the job interview the next day, and I couldn't wait to tell him that when I got the call that I didn't get the job. I couldn't wait to tell him. And so we just really started just with no walls, no expectations. And we're done. And here we are, married. It's going to be 7 years this year. So it's been together for 9 years. And it's just been such a beautiful journey ever since. So,
wow, amazing. Can we go a little bit back before you came to that point of I'm done with dating? So what was it like for you in those dating times? Well,
so it was, I was full-time in the military. So I was building my military career, really just building my independence and finding my voice. Because prior to that, while I was in the NFL, I ended up getting really sick. I was in a very toxic and abusive relationship at the time, back in 2005, and I landed myself in a wheelchair. So I was diagnosed with a really rare form of rheumatoid arthritis, and I gained a bunch of weight. I was super depressed, and I had to get out of a 6-year toxic relationship. And so I was a people pleaser. I call myself a recovering people pleaser and perfectionist, because I let this person take over my whole world. And my identity was I was stuck to this person, and also my NFL career and being in the military. So I literally lost myself in the identities of the roles that I was playing. And in those moments where I was really alone and depressed and sad and frustrated and all the range of emotions, I started to rebuild the love for myself and rebuild the relationship that I had with my body, with my nutrition, with the hydration, with the self-care. I asked for help for the first time. So that was at the young age of 22, when I was supposed to look good and be arm candy and just show up and just not speak till spoken to. And it was once I really started building my voice and starting from scratch of who am I when I'm stripped of all of the identities all at once? Because I was getting out of that toxic relationship. I was no longer an NFL cheerleader. I was no longer an athlete. I took steroid injections and chemotherapy. I was in a wheelchair. I shopped for my first apartment in a wheelchair. And then they tried to kick me out of the military. So I was stripped of everything. And I say that not for shame or pity or anything. It's just, I had to say, I had to look in the mirror, who really am I? And I started this work at 22. And then I was I actually have a voice and I want to explore parts of myself. And so I spent about a good 6 or 7 years single. Just building my military career, traveling. I started by crawling out of my wheelchair and falling out of bed and with so much pain, to being able to stalk my doctors to get off the medication that I was on. I was literally burning ulcers and holes in my body. And so I started advocating for my health. And when they just said, "Oh, suck it up. You're doing too much. You're working out too much. You need to slow down." I was like, no, there's got to be another way. And so I started reading. I read This for Dummies. And I started asking questions and saying, no, there's got to be another medication. There's something else. And so I ended up working with my doctors for an entire year. And I researched. My body was I was like a mad scientist. And got off of all the medication and I started running. And in that time, I spent a lot of time with myself and my thoughts and my dreams and my desires and, exploring different parts of myself. And so started with one step, then one light post, then one block, then 1 mile. Then it got to be one marathon. And then 26 marathons later in a 50-mile race, I don't take ibuprofen to this day. And so I spent a lot of time just kind of, in the beginning, I was running away. I was escaping. I was running to escape. But then I just really fell in love with the time that I had with myself as I was building my career and my voice and reflecting and writing speeches during my runs. And I just really evolving as a woman and finding my voice and my confidence, and then really paying attention to what my needs were, because it's you have to hydrate properly. For me to be out in a 50-mile race for 9 hours, like I have to know what my body needs, my salt, my mental health, my physical health, the hydration levels, the nutrition. There's so much that I think as women, we're so intuitive with our body, but sometimes we either neglect what we know is right for us. And so I just, I spent a lot of time really just finding what it is that I truly do, so that I can bring my full self to a next level version of what a great relationship looked like. And at that point, when I met my husband, I was like, I want to change the scenery. I'm like done. I just wanted to explore. I wanted to be on a beach. I wanted the sunshine. And I knew that. And I was willing to move to a completely new city, with no one, just by myself, for a job. And I think me making that decision as a woman and knowing that I'm leaving my friends, my family, everything, I knew that that could be the next step for me and that could be possible. And so I kind of went through that decision-making process prior to meeting my husband. And I share that because when I did meet him, he's in the Army and he went to Buffalo for the Army. And I knew that one day he was going to have to leave again.
Yeah.
And so, but for me, it was a shock. And when we got orders and we had to, and I wasn't prepared. So we kind of went through a series of struggles and identity crisis again when we did have like 3 months notice and I had to move. And it was a different decision, very powerful. And it's a very pivotal point in not only our relationship, but the rest of my career. So I'll pause there. I think.
Question. Amazing. So how did you then negotiate that? Because I think it's this for high achieving women, often meeting high achieving men and then trying to negotiate, you two grown-ups coming together. How did you navigate that then you are actually able to build a life together instead of, for many people, it is like, I'm not willing to give up on my whatever I want. And we sort of start maybe a relationship, but it doesn't properly take off because we are both of us so focused on our careers, and then we'll separate or we go to different paths. But you were able to build something together and continue with your journeys on building your careers and all of that. So how did that come about? What helped you with that?
So they call us a power couple and they call us like military Ken and Barbie. We kind of play this persona and this role and we actually enjoy it, but we kind of make fun of it, but at the same, not make fun of it, but we make a light of it.
Yeah.
But it really has been a lot of hard work. I'm not going to lie. But it has been, I don't want to say it's easy, but we just have so much empathy and understanding with each other because we come from the same, we had similar values, right? So we had core values. In the military, we have core values that we live by. And so we came together with a set of core values that were very similar, of integrity and service and excellence and honor and respect. And so we came together with that shared knowledge and that depth, right? And I think, part of the work that I do with my clients is getting back to the core of your core values. You're guiding light. Maybe you're a person of faith. Maybe you're not. But even without, if you don't believe in God or whatever you believe in, there has to be something that is your North Star. And I think that really laid a foundation for us. We've been growing our relationship with God since. And so it's kind of part of our story too. He grew up in a church that wasn't it wasn't traditional. So we go to church on Saturdays. So as an adult, when he joined the military, he was like, I'm not going to church. And me, I was the opposite. I started going to church when I started going in the military. So I didn't grow up in the church. So for us to come together, and I just want to share that because I think a lot of people think that it's not possible, but we came together with core values and trust and respect and empathy. And then we grew in our faith together by curious. And so I think from the get-go, we were like, we're both going to roll up our sleeves, and we know what each other are going through. Maybe not 100%, but we're going to listen. We're not keep score. So we've always said, like, we're not keep score. Similar to what we do in the military, like, you have a job to do. There's a mission. You just do it. There's you're on a team, and you just make it happen. And so he'll come home. We're like, all right, let's tag team. We got to do the dishes. We got to take out the trash. We got to do the laundry, like whatever it takes to get our space up and running. We just roll up our sleeves and do it. Like, it's not like, oh, you didn't take out the trash yesterday, or you didn't unload the dishwasher, or the way that he loads the dishwasher. Not my way, but he did it. Like, you know, suspend that, because I could easily say, gosh, like, I could talk for seconds, but don't do that. And we've always been very conscious of that. And we'll catch each other. Like, remember, we don't keep score. No, we're not perfect. But I think that has been a really big thing for us. And we travel a lot. We're apart a lot. So planning is very important.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think this is so lovely to hear when you say that they have been, it's not all of these Instagram perfect couples where you just, because really real relationships, they're ups and downs. And that's where it's the beauty of it, really, in many ways, because it's real. And you're coming together in those negotiations. But what you mentioned there was the empathy towards each other, and understanding and willingness to hear what the other's point of view is, and no keeping scores. Absolutely. Because when you start keeping scores or saying this or that or what have you, that just takes you further away from each other instead of bringing you together. And real relationship, I think, is so important for people to hear that real relationships is not always the Hollywood story. And still, that is a good relationship. Yes, there are times when we may feel more disconnected, but we are committed to bringing it back together. And like you were saying, that this is kind of like we've got a mission together. It is this relationship. So that's really beautiful to hear. And I think for many people, it is often, it may be even scary to think about meeting someone, and this relationship would need to be this perfect. And am I, all of us, we are not perfect by any means at all. And that's absolutely fine. But two perfectly imperfect people can come together and still build a lovely relationship together. So thank you for really sharing that and sharing the kind of really the negotiating and the communication, how important that is really. So how much are you together? How much are you apart really in real life?
Oh gosh. So if I were to count on one hand, 5 times in the last 5 years that we have spent more than 2 weeks consecutively together.
Wow.
Yes. And I just want to go, I think that part is really powerful, but I want to go back to you that you're negotiating if we can.
Yeah.
I think there is a negotiation, but there's also non-negotiables. And so this is super powerful. And this has been a huge part of our world, is recognizing that we both have a set of non-negotiables. And we both come to the table with our non-negotiables, and we're able to have empathy for the others. So one of our non-negotiables is our health and fitness, is our nutrition and our daily regimen for working out and self-care. And so that part has been a non-negotiable. So I walked into this relationship with my daily regimen and non-negotiables. That stayed true to those. And he did the same. And we've been able to work it. And I will say the negotiations at first, we almost didn't keep dating after a couple of dates, because I'll tell you what, this is very, talk about negotiations. I'm like, oh, I have to tell this story, because I'll never forget. I loved going out to dinner with him. Yeah. It's like I'd get dressed up and he would pick me up in his white car. And I was like so excited, but it would be so late. Now I wake up and go to the gym early. Like my non-negotiables were, it was an early morning routine before work. His routine was he would sleep in because he was out late. So before he met, he would go to the gym after work. That was his non-negotiable. So he would work, go to the gym, go shower, then he'd go out with his buddies and then stay up real late and then sleep in. I had the opposite schedule. So like by the time he was done at the gym, it would be like 8:30. We would have to eat so late.
Yeah.
And one day I love spending this time with you. Is there a way that maybe a couple times a week that we can maybe have dinner a little earlier?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he could have said, no, my routine is my routine. He then started working out in the morning and shifting his non-negotiables, to more of a morning routine. And it was the way he shares that it's the way that I positioned it, where it was a win for both of us. And, that was a couple dates into dating, like a couple weeks into dating. And I was scared to even like say that, to be like, I was so scared. I'll never forget those moments. But it's been so beautiful. And now we both are the same regimen. We both wake up, we get right into workout here, and we start our day with our daily non-negotiables. So we can have our dinner time together at night. So I just want to share that when it comes to negotiating, I think that part was really powerful.
Absolutely. That's so important. And I think also that you did it early on when you're meeting, because I think for us women, many times, or women go into relationships and you don't want to, whether it's upset or whatever it is, that you worry about telling what those important things for you. And many times we haven't even figured out beforehand. And you did that work. You did the work on understanding your values, what was really important for you. And then when you go into a relationship, you let the other person know, these are important from these factors are my non-negotiables. And without them, it's not going to happen. So where are you with that? And if the other person who says, I don't like that doesn't fit for me, then that just means that it's not the right person. But for the right person, they say, okay, fine, we'll find a way. And so you did. You figured out a way, but that was clear for both of you that this looking after your health was so important. And it's really important to communicate those. So thank you for sharing that story. That's really, really important.
Yeah. And I think many times too, we tend to chisel away at those non-negotiables once we get comfortable in a relationship. And one of the things that my husband and I talk a lot about, and we work with other couples too, and help them with their dreams and goals and kind of connect again. And one of the things that we always like to focus on is that person that you met on that first date. There was an attraction, there was an energy to that. So when you start to diminish that energy for one, and you let life happen, or you start to get a little, don't show up for non-negotiables that brings your best self, you're changing. Yeah. And so it's almost like you want to continue that date of that energy and that zest of what does light you on fire. And that can change and it can evolve over time. Mm-hmm. The more we chisel away at that, the more we lose that sense of zest that they fell in love with to begin with.
Yeah. And then I guess there is that if we give up on something that is so important and we think, oh, I'll be fine, I'll just kind of go with it. But if you give up on that, over time, that's going to grind you. And it's like, well, then 5 years down, I gave up on this because of you. And the other person might not even know that this was so important for you. Mm-hmm. So it's really important in the early days to really communicate that and keep on going for what is important to you. And so that you keep yourself, that self-love, like what you were saying, that you discovered self-love really for yourself when you were leaving your previous relationship and trying to figure out for yourself. And what do you think when you are in a relationship or when you are kind of looking for a relationship, what are the self-love practices, are the key points of self-love that helps you and everyone to feel their best?
So I guess I'll go through my 34-minute mindset, because I think this is, it can be so overwhelming, especially if we're dating or in a new relationship or even in our marriage, right? That this is a set of non-negotiables that we can do in 34 minutes each day, right? And so traveling, bags are always packed. I needed to make sure that I had some sort of a balance and understanding of what my life was going to look like each day. And so, to make sure that I pour into everything and everyone else, I start with gratitude. So I always start the day with gratitude, because you may not be in the best situation. I am not in my dream city right now. Every single day I start with gratitude of what I can be grateful for. And, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky right now. I'm not on the beach yet, but I can still be grateful for the space, the people that are in my life. And I may not be as far along as I want to be. I may not be as fit as I want to be. Things might not be perfect, but there's still so much to be grateful for. So I spend each morning starting with gratitude. From there, it's a powerful I am statement. So really a positive affirmation to share, like that I am a role model and I'm having an experience, but also my energy has an impact on everyone that I come into contact with throughout the day, whether it be virtually or over the phone, via text, or at the grocery store, or just out on my walk. Everyone is having an experience, and how are they experiencing me? So I always go into the day with an I am statement of like setting that intention of the energy that I'm placing into the world. From there, we go write down all my goals and then my intentions that align with the goals for the day, right? So I have all right, here's the priorities. And then who can I make smile today is because I think many times, especially as women, we do so much for everyone else, but having that intention of all right, here, I want to nominate someone today, right? I make a cameo. And in my planner, the Crystal Clear Life Planner, it maps out all the prompts. So, but you don't need a fancy planner to do it. Just take 2 minutes in the morning and just say, okay, what are my goals? What am I grateful for? Who can I make smile today? And what am I going to accomplish today to make sure it's a good day? So that's really just 2 minutes in the morning. And I've it down. So it's really nice and easy. Start the day that way and get your brain and your nervous system ready and prepped for the day. So you start in a positive, energetic state. From there, we have 30 minutes of movement, no matter what. So I teach HIIT and kickboxing. So that ex-boyfriend, I had to use a mean uppercut on. So I got certified to teach kickboxing. So I help a lot of women with self-defense as well. But they're 30-minute sessions with no equipment. So I encourage everyone to move your body for 30 minutes, no matter what, each day, because it changes the chemicals in your brain. It helps you more confident. You build on the skills and you can be open to so much more possibilities. And you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what's going to happen. I have so many incredible creative moments, and I stop at the corner and I type notes of exciting ideas, and it's a beautiful download for me in my brain. So I'm not so overwhelmed that, there's chaos up there, especially if we're not where we want to be. And so writing and processing that is so important. And then we take 2 minutes at the end of every day and we say, how did we do today? Did we drink enough water? Did we fuel ourselves properly? How did we feel? What emotions came up? Because I think when we track our cycle, our hormones, the environment, I love to help my clients figure out the data everything that's surrounding, so we can have empathy and self-love with ourselves. Say, here's what's happening right now. And okay, this happened. Here's how I'm feeling. What got in the way for us achieving our best self today, or achieving the goals that we set out to in the morning? And then what can we do differently tomorrow without blame or shame or guilt? Just having an honest conversation to sink in. All right, here's what I accomplished. Here's all the data. And I love data, because if we make decisions without data, that's where all the overwhelm and the it comes in. Yes. So I think that's a really beautiful space to bookend each day to celebrate. And you know what? Here's what happened today. And I'm sinking in like today was a good day and I can be grateful for some parts of it.
Absolutely. I mean, there's even research to back up that gratitude practice really helps us to feel better about ourselves on the whole, appreciate life really more. And it's such a beautiful way of starting the day, but also ending the day. And I'm sure that when you're kind of taking that 2 minutes, even at the end of the day, then you're more at peace to go and sleep. And then you have a good sleep. And then, it starts again. It's all of those are really ways of connecting with yourself.
Yeah.
And really beautiful ways of there's the movement, there's the kind of emotionally connecting with yourself and knowing where you are, and in a spiritual way too, because when gratitude practice, it's so important, the energy you put out there, not only those who are really closest to you, but of course the energy is really important when you go on your dates and perhaps some of your energy when you went on this date with your now husband, you were radiating certain type of energy that probably got him to ask you out on the date when you initially met. Had you been in a different energetic state, although it could be the right person, but maybe that passes because both of you need to be in the right energetic state to be like magnets to each other. So all of that is really important, and on a daily basis, really do that. Because I think, like you said, that many times it's a commitment to work on your relationship, but it's also a commitment to yourself to practice all of these. Otherwise, I think by nature, humans are lazy and we would rather some of us are kind of naturally more lazier than others. And then if we don't commit to taking care of ourselves, then, and especially in this modern world with all of those kind of demands and like you are traveling and all of that, it's so important to have that structure and commit to all of those self-care practices so that then you're living really your optimal life and in a way that works for you and keeps you healthy and going and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, is there anything else you've shared such beautiful things about your relationship and the kind of negotiating, empathy, all of those kind of things, and the self-connection pieces. Is there anything else that you would like to add to that we haven't touched on yet?
Yeah, one more thing that comes to mind with regards to empathy and working on yourself. So personal development is a choice, and it's a relationship that you go into with yourself to date yourself. You may be in a relationship with someone else, but you've committed to dating yourself. And I know you shared that like some people are lazy. I think it's more of a comfort level, right? And it's natural for us to want to feel comfy, cozy, and be in that blanket and not reach outside our comfort zone. And that's where the growth happens, is just outside that comfort zone. And I think if both parties, like in a relationship with yourself, you're constantly reaching outside your comfort zone and learning more about yourself and growing, it's uncomfortable. It's hard, but that's why I always keep this mirror next to me. Like you're looking in the mirror and the person that looks back at you you got to love that person. And it's the only body that you live in. And so I think what's beautiful is that if both parties can continue to look in the mirror and say, I'm willing to see what else is possible and grow together without blame or shame or judgment. That empathy piece is very important because everyone is on their own journey. I have addiction in my family, and I just want to share that because you can't fix someone else and you can't want it more than the other person. So just like maybe dealing with someone that's struggling with addiction in your family, you can't just say, oh, you're good, you're all good in 2 seconds. Like you go to, rehab and then you're out and everything's good and hunky-dory, right? So you don't just read a book or watch a YouTube video or listen to this podcast and everyone's good and you're on this next level. And I think everyone is going to be on their own journey of personal development. And studies show that only 2% of the population actually does this work.
Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah.
So, and that's where I think empathy comes into play, because I think so many times when we do so much work on ourselves, and I've fallen into this trap, I look around and I'm like, why isn't everyone else doing this? And why can't I see this? Like, I just want to shake them.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, when I first started this journey of writing my planner and doing this discipline and this work, my husband he was like, what is this thing? Like, and I was like, come with me, come to this conference, join this thing. Like, we're going to write workbooks and we're going to work together. It's going to be beautiful. And he hated it.
Yeah.
And I want to share this because I didn't judge him. It was hurt because I wanted to be on the journey together. Yeah. But what I did, I kept doing, I said, I'm going to do this for me. And I made a conscious choice to continue to show up as a role model and say, I'm just going to be here, and it's going to be like osmosis. It was like, I just kept showing up. I'm like, I'm doing my non-negotiables are my journaling, my personal growth, my reading, my meditation, my workouts. And I was on this regiment and peace these days and these weeks and these months together. And he's like, he saw this energy, he saw this shit. And he's like, what is that journaling thing you're doing? Like, I think I might want to try your journal thing. So I created a men's version of the Krystalore Life.
Oh, really?
And so now he does it. But I want to share that story because we can't want it for them. We can only show powerfully to show others what's possible. And not everyone is going to get it. Yeah. And so really suspending the judgment and having the empathy that everyone is on their own journey and in their personal development and their growth, the uncomfortableness. Yeah. And learning unpeeling the layers of who they are. I think we have to give people grace and space to be able to grow in their own way, on their own time. And hopefully they are looking, right? I'm working with a couple clients right now that they have done so much work as the woman in the relationship, and they have met men that are barely even getting started in their personal growth. And they're having a struggle right now. And so there's been some breakups because, they're staying true to the growth development. They're staying stuck. And I don't think it's laziness. I think it's just they haven't had enough awareness to say, I'm ready.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And there needs to be often for many people, there's something happens, so that a shift happens that, okay, is there a different way? Or will I continue doing the same thing? And there are some people for various personal reasons that they are stuck and they don't want to. But I guess when you start the work before you even meet someone, you want someone who is at least open-minded, even if they're not doing exactly the same, but they are open-minded about growth and kind of willing to engage in the growth in the relationship, even if they're not doing all of the same sort of personal growth, but at least in the relationship, they want to put effort and really kind of focus on growing in that relationship. So yeah, that's so lovely to hear. And thank you for sharing that also. It's really important.
Yeah.
And if someone wanted to get in touch with you and know more about your work, what would be the best way of doing that?
Yeah. So I'm on all the socials. I'm the only Krystalore Crews in the world. So I'll spell it out for you. It's KrystaloreCrews.com, KrystaloreCrews.com, or Krystalore Crews on all the socials. Send me a message. I'd love to connect and just hear your story, see how I can support you. I do have a retreat coming up too. So I have a variety of different programs. So I have my group fitness, virtual fitness program, the 30-minute sessions. I'm in 3 different countries. So we're a global brand now. Women just trying to live happier and healthier and get to know themselves and put their health first. And then I have a 6-month program that really takes a deep dive into your habits, your nutrition, your communication styles, your identity, your values, relationships, and boundaries. And then I have a 6-day all-inclusive retreat in Costa Rica coming up. So there's a couple spots left for that. So there's plenty of opportunities for us to work together. And I can really here to meet you where you're at and help you learn. And the best thing that I ever hear is, Crystal, I'm falling in love with myself again. And that is just, it warms my heart, and that's what keeps me going. So I can't wait for, for all of you, your audience, to be able to just find a way to unpeel the layers and really fall in love with yourself. So, and it takes putting yourself first. And so
thank you so much. That is such a beautiful way to finish today. Really amazing message. Thank you so much, Krystalore. And thank you for anyone who was listening. And I hope that if you learned something new from this episode, please go and review it on your favorite podcast platform. And of course, we are on YouTube too. But thank you so much for this interview. And please do go and check out all the offerings Krystalore has put together. Thank you so much, Krystalore, for this interview. Thank you. Bye.